going to start off with a Q&A. Now, if you want to get in on my YouTube channel's Q&A Wednesday, as well as your chance to be featured on this podcast, Talks with Taeler Hendrix, every Tuesday, here's what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to go over to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/@TaelerHendrix. You're going to want to hit the subscribe button and then scroll down to the latest Q&A Wednesday video, hit the thumbs up button, and then put your question in the comments below the video for your chance to be featured. And it's a double whammy, because not only will I answer your question potentially on my YouTube channel for Q&A Wednesday, but you will also get to be featured on this podcast with your question. So I think that that's really, really fun. I'm always trying to find, you know, innovative and kind of fun ways to interact with my fans. So I like to keep it real. I like to do kind of some fun things. All right. So without further ado, here we go. Hit the thumbs up button. Comment below on the latest Q&A Wednesday video. Here we go. The first question from my YouTube channel, someone asked me, what is my opinion on championship title belts with Velcro? Is that a thing? Like, I have been in the business since I was 17. I'm in my 30s now, so a hell of a long time. Like, half of my life I've been in the wrestling business, and I have yet to see a belt with Velcro. Is this a thing? Have I been somehow living in under a rock? Like, I don't know. But here's my thoughts. A, I have not seen that. B, as a professional wrestler, I would not like that. Was I doing numbers or was I doing letters? We'll just go with letters. C, so A, B, C. As a female with super long hair, I would not like that because it would be pulling my hair out. And since certain designs of my gear actually have fishnet or netting, I also would not like that because it'll probably rip my really expensive gear. And I put a lot of money, I invest a lot of money, effort, and time into not only my gear designs, but also the quality of my gear. So anyone that's bought my gear from me knows, like, my gear is like top-notch quality, and I go to people that are really good at what they do to bring those visions to life. So I would not like that. Is it easier to come on and off? Yes, but I also think that will pull at the leather way more. So I think that that's also a quality control issue. I personally would prefer these snaps, even though they're super difficult. And the way my body looks anyway, I didn't like wearing my belts around my waist because I don't have a long torso. That's why I always look thicker than some other girls. And so, like, I could weigh the same amount as another girl, but I look way bigger because of my body's composition. So I don't like wearing them around the belt because it's just not a flattering look for me personally. So yeah, as far as Velcro. Okay, someone asked me, have I ever wrestled overseas or have I ever been overseas? I have been overseas. When I was 17 years old, I had just gotten into the wrestling business. I went overseas and it was really, really amazing. I absolutely loved it. I went to Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and Liechtenstein. And then of course I wrestled in a bunch of places in Canada. But I have to tell you, I loved Germany. The apples were probably the best apples I have ever had in my life. I felt so healthy. Like, the air, at first I was like, ugh, what is that smell? And then I realized, oh wow, that's actually what fresh air smells like. Switzerland, some of the best shopping experiences I have ever had. Yes, hello, sweetheart. I absolutely loved Switzerland. Austria was so cool because my grandmother never got the opportunity to go, and she always loved the movie The Sound of Music. So I actually got to visit a garden in Austria that was in the movie The Sound of Music. I forget the name of it. And I had this little necklace charm that was maybe about like that big or less, and I was able to bury it in that garden so that there was a piece of my grandmother that I was able to leave behind there. And I just thought that was so special. So I did that in Austria. In Liechtenstein, even though we only spent a couple hours, it was really cool because it wasn't on our itinerary. We just kind of stopped there. And I got to go to 3 different places in Germany. So overall, that was an amazing, amazing time. I was 17 years old just walking around Europe with a bunch of other 17-year-olds from our school. It was a really crazy experience. I got a lot of really good training in Canada as far as wrestling is concerned. Obviously, if you guys have been a fan of mine for any length of time, I like to recommend certain schools as far as that have a reputation for excellence in producing people that go on to do admirable things in the business, and there's at least 1 or 2 in Canada. Okay, I'm sorry I have to keep looking this way since Sally decided to chill in my lap. I kind of have to keep putting my notes in other places. Another person from my YouTube channel asked me, this is such a cute question. They asked me, have I ever met, when I was in Ring of Honor, had I ever met Mandy Leon's dog, Foxy? I think I think once, potentially. I think it was at the dojo. They were doing a Future of Honor seminar, and this was shortly before my no DQ match with Mandy. This was a loop that we had done, and there was a seminar for Future of Honor, and they were doing tapings, and this is when my promos were coming in, because I had somebody completely outside of ROH film and help me put together those promos that you saw leading up to my no DQ. Like, I got that done outside of Ring of Honor. That wasn't an ROH production, and those were coming in that day, and that's why I remember, because I was like, oh my gosh, my little brain babies, this is so cool, they're not going to be expecting it. Like, that's kind of like what it was like, right? And I think she may or may not have had her dog there at that point in time, I think. I know I got to meet and play around with Amber O'Neill's dog, Al Snow's ex-wife's dog, Megs. She loved my wiener dog, Slinky. And I also got to meet one of Santana's dogs as well, who's a dachshund. So, I mean, we kind of bonded over that because we both have dachshunds. But yeah, I think maybe once for Mandy's dog, I think. If not, then no, I did not get the opportunity, and I'm such a dog person, so I would have loved that. Another person asked me from YouTube, what are some other, what do I think about extreme movements, in film, entertainment, video games, and so forth, and pop culture? I think this question stems from a previous question from either last week or the week before, where someone asked me about trends that I really just dislike in modern society. So I think that's where this question stems from. And the answer is, I hate them. I hate them. I think, personally speaking, as a person who's been through a lot of different experiences, I've traveled extensively, and I've met people from literally all over the world. There is not a country you could go to where I have not met someone. And so I've gotten to talk to a lot of different people, a lot of different experiences, a lot of different walks of life, and so forth. And my opinion is, I think extremism of any kind ruins everything for everyone in one facet or another. You see this with things like feminism, and you see this with, you know, knee-jerk reactions as far as parenting styles, and then they end up indirectly passing around down generational curses. Like, extremism is just not the way to go. Everything in moderation. It's why things like cold turkey do not work for most people. You know, it's extremism, and it's so rough. It's so rough because I feel like we're doing such a disservice to this current generation and our future generations, which are the future security of the world, of our countries, and so forth. Like, we are doing such a disservice to children, and it's really, really sad. I think we're dealing with the people that were taught as little children that, you know, you can't say no, don't say don't to your kid, and every feeling you've ever had is valid, and nothing's ever your fault. There's no consequences to anything, and so forth and so on. I feel like that's what we're dealing with now, and it's really unfortunate. Like, I think feminism is, I call it the other F word. I think it's ruining women. I think it's ruining relationships. I think the government is ruining things for families and education, and I think, you know, telling young boys that all of their DNA running through their veins biologically is toxic. Like, I can't get on board with that at all. I do not believe in that at all. I just can't. I also do not, I don't agree with them. I think it should be kept out of movies, especially, you know, stuff that's targeted for young children. I think that it should be out of our school system. School should be for actual education on things that matter, like how to be a productive future member of society with independent critical thinking, and what you want to do in life, how you want to do it, how to be a successful human being, a happy and healthy human being, which brings me to my next point, this extreme viewpoint of being a vegan. Like, if you talk to a real legit vegan who knows what they're doing, they're not eating all this processed fake vegan faux meat crap that you're being peddled right now. All right, so I could do a whole video on just this question because it is just so ridiculous, all the stuff that we're being like brainwashed. There was a dictator that is very well known who took this idea from this psychologist, and what's scary is the psychologist was he was so spot on that this dictator, I personally think, was so successful in doing such evil things because he understood the idea from the psychologist. And the idea is, he who controls the media controls the people. And in proxy controls the world. And you see this with a lot of dictators, and you see this going on in America. You know, you're getting taught stuff in school that's like not actually true. Like a lot of people in the United States don't realize that you don't live in a democracy. Like literally in your Constitution and your Declaration of Independence and everything, it is set up to be a constitutional republic, which is different than a democracy. It's better than a democracy. And all of your inalienable rights as an American, literally there's a specific wording for it, and it says given to you by the creator. The reason why it says this is because if it says that that they hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal under the of the government, if it uses the word government or government officials, then that means the government gave you these rights, which means the government can freely take them away, which was the exact opposite of what the founding fathers wanted. That's why they said the creator, meaning like a higher power. And that's why we're a constitutional republic, on top of so many other things. But extremisms of many different movements are trying to take all that stuff away from you and try to convince you and bludgeon you to pieces inside your brain that it's a good thing that they want to take these things away from you and all this other stuff. So I could do a whole video on just on that. Let me know if you guys want that. I have to move on. But I think the key takeaway for this is I do not like extremism of any kind. I do not think it helps in wrestling. I don't think it helps in any movement whatsoever. I don't think it does anything good for anyone. Even if like a movement started off with a great purpose, extremism ruins it for everyone. And I think that's why when people say the other F word, feminism, they think only in terms of what it means today instead of what it actually means and what it started out for. And that's such a huge problem, and that's why I don't identify and I don't subscribe to that at all. No, no, no. Another person asked me, what would be some advice to wrestlers? Okay, I've asked this before, but I think they wanted some more in-depth stuff, so because I've answered this before. One thing I would definitely say is if you're in a carpool, know and understand who the people are that are with you in that carpool, because you're putting your life on the line with these people that, you know, might be on drugs that you don't know, and they're the ones driving and could kill you and everybody else in the car or kill someone else. And then you all are charged with things like vehicular manslaughter or criminally negligent homicide, whatever the case may be. You never want to be involved in that. And you also never know if somebody hasn't had their proper documentation. I was on a show where there was a carpool of people from Canada, and they all ended up getting turned around at the border and could not come into the US because one person in the car did not properly file, and so they got busted. And because they were busted, they ended up having the whole car turned around, and all of the wrestlers in that car had to miss that entire wrestling loop. So it was like, I think it was like 2 or 3 shows that they all missed out on, which means they missed out on pay and all this other stuff. So yeah, you have to understand who you're in the cars with. Don't just trust that a hotel is secure. Especially as a solo female wrestler. They have these really cool things that you can buy on Amazon to help lock your doors, because there are ways to take off of those security chains and so forth. So I used to like to bring my own ones of those. Also, do not put your gear bag or your clothing down on anything that has fabric until after you check for bed bugs. I've known several wrestlers that actually, I'm like itchy, like psychosomatic. I'm like, oh, bed bugs. I actually knew several wrestlers that got bed bugs, and I actually walked into a 4-star hotel that had like this giant bed bug on top of the bedding. Like it was actually visible to the naked eye. So it must have been just done eating, or I don't know. But I called like hotel management, and they came up and they saw it too with their own eyes. And then I ended up getting comped free rooms because they were like, holy crap, bed bugs. Like bed bugs can live like 300 and something days, something obscure like that, without food. And like, yeah, so that's just something you don't want to deal with as a wrestler, because there goes your gear, there goes your merch, there goes your car, there goes everything. And then you bring it back, and then your training school gets it, your whole household gets it. It's just a big, big fumigating mess. Another thing I would say is, especially as a female wrestler, when you check in, especially if a promoter or somebody else has, you know, secured your hotel rooms for you, always ask the front desk how many keys were made up for this room, because you never want someone having a key to your room that you don't know about. So if it's 2 keys, make sure you take 2 keys, because you never want, you know, an unwelcomed wrestler, promoter, so forth, somebody getting, or even like there's certain fans that have done this to people where they end up with a key and like try to get in because they're like so fascinated with wanting to meet that wrestler or whatever. They'll follow you to the room. You just always want to know how many keys were taken out. Another thing is, do not take photos in front of your car's license plate, your home or whatever, because people can zoom in and all kinds of stuff and geolocate you and all that other stuff that I don't understand because I'm not tech savvy. So be careful with what you post on social media. And if you don't want fans finding out your address, then get a fan mailbox. And fans, please do not send stuff to people's home address. That is not for you. Okay, that's just a boundary. That's just common sense. But that's a different story. Also, check to make sure that you are not followed to your hotel rooms or to your car. Make sure the windows, if you have one, or the balcony doors are locked. Other advice to wrestlers. Oh yeah, put all of your wrestling expenses onto one credit card. It's much easier to track your expenses for your taxes and all kinds of other stuff for tax write-offs and so forth. Let's see here, more advice. Dress for the position you want and not the position you have. If you show up looking like a scrub to a show, then the show that you're on automatically looks like scrubs too. So dress with a certain amount of professionalism that also matches your gimmick. When I would show up to shows, I would show up to shows looking some sort of professional version like my gimmick, okay? So there's some sort of continuity there. But I also, in my back pocket, not literally, but figuratively, I would have a resume with an 8x10 and my gear bag and stuff to do ring crew. I would always ask if ring crew and production would need help, even if I was on TV. That was just me. That's how I was taught. Another advice for wrestlers. Oh yeah, do not, if you have wish lists and stuff and you're like someone that publicizes those, make sure that the stuff that you are putting on your wish list is from Amazon itself, because if not, and it's a third-party sellers on Amazon can actually give away your address that you have stuff shipped to, and then people have your home address and it's very unsafe. Also too, putting in your password things like ampersands in more than one spot makes you less hackable, because it's a hard thing to figure out with the ampersands. And another thing would be, I think that's it for now. All right, advice for fans who want to wrestle: don't do it. Don't do it, because once you cross that threshold of fan to wrestler, the business changes. Everything changes for you, and you will never be able to look at it the same way again. And as a fan, you're going to think you know all the good things to do and all the good people to rub elbows with and all that stuff, but you just don't. Like, I'm not trying to be rude about it, but you don't know. Okay, it's very easy for wrestlers to pretend like they're good people in front of you because they want you to buy their shizzit. You see what I'm saying? So if you're spending 5, 10, 15, 20, maybe even an hour with them, it's easy to put on a show for that amount of time. But the more time you spend with people, the more you get to see who they truly are. This is why I don't just believe in first impressions. I believe in second and third impressions, because sometimes the person could be having a bad moment, a bad day. You never know. But if it's more consistent behavior, then it starts to show, oh, that's actually who the person actually is. It wasn't just a bad day or whatever. So that is something I personally believe in. And also, too, what you probably don't understand is whatever job you have now, you're probably not, I would say 8 out of 10 times, you're probably making more than some of your favorite professional wrestlers are, because it is so expensive to be a professional athlete, okay? Your supplements, your makeup, your gym, your tanning, your gear. I mean, gear has gone up exponentially. Like, my first one-piece red set of gear was, I think, $150. Towards the latter part of my Ring of Honor days, I was paying so much more, like more than triple. So gear alone, 8x10s, t-shirts, gas money, tolls, road food, pre-planned meals, the specialty lunch boxes for those meals, like all kinds of stuff like goes into being a professional wrestler, and most of them are broke. Even some people with TV money are broke because the lifestyle, you're on the road more than you're home, you like taxes, all this other stuff. So if you're making, say you're one of the lucky people making $200,000 a year, right? Say at WWE, cut that almost in half. That's probably about, I don't know, let's say $135,000. Now, out of that $135,000, you have to pay either your rent or your mortgage, your car payment, rental cars, hotel rooms, food, electric, gym, tanning, food, road food, medicine, health insurance, all kinds of stuff. You're broke. There are people that are managers of McDonald's that make more than developmental people at times. I know this to be true from mine, Jesse Goddard's, Dexter Loomis, Rockstar Spud, like all of our developmental contracts were less than what somebody working full-time at McDonald's. So you just have to understand what you're going to sign up for if you do this. And you also have to understand the quality of life for yourself. It goes down. This is not an easy industry. It's not an easy business. It's not an easy thing. Let's put it in realistic terms, okay? Car accidents are every single bump. Okay, it's like getting into a car accident going like 15 miles per hour. That's whiplash, that's bone density, that's lung capacity. There's all kinds of stuff at play. You know, and that's why you have to, like, some people are okay with dying in the ring because this is something that they genuinely love to do. But ask yourself, is that really what I want for myself? Is that really what I want for my family? Is that really what I want for my future family or my future self or even my fans? Like, do I want my fans to see me die in the ring? You know, but that's possible, because you are putting your life on the line with somebody else. And as years go by, the escalation of dangerous shizit goes up and up and up and up and up. And now there's this expectation. Plus the wear and tear of being on the road 300 plus days out of the year. Plus, you know, everything else, like the type of social situations that you're in. I just say, be a fan. Be a fan of it, and then live your best life while being a fan of it. Because once you're in it, you can never go back to just being a fan, because now you know. It's like getting that peek behind the curtain of the Great and Powerful Oz, and then you realize he's just a bitter old man with a keyboard, you know? That's kind of like what it is. Another person asked me, is there anything I'm currently reading? Oh yeah, I'm reading The Intelligent Investor, How to Raise Successful People, and what's that other book? It's by Ryan Blair. It's a #1 bestseller by Ryan Blair. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I have a short attention span when it comes to reading, so I like to read multiple different things at a time, and then I kind of absorb all kinds of different information, and then I can reread anything else. Someone asked me, why should I buy your books if I don't have kids? Great question. Yeah, great question. Here's the thing. The reason why I started off with children's books, some people might find that weird, but I used to be a preschool teacher, and I was also a site coordinator and a camp counselor and a personal aide and everything. So I've worked with kids 2.8 all the way through 16-ish. And I feel, as a kid who grew up actually pursuing their childhood dream, I think that there's so many lessons that I wish I would have learned younger, that would have drastically helped my trajectory as an adult, both personally, introspectively, emotionally, physically, spiritually, everything. And I think a lot of times the adults that are around us can't teach us these things because they themselves have not learned these things yet. And that's how generational curses are passed down from one generation to the next, and then, you know, the extreme, you know, 180s that people do that ultimately lead to different generational curses and so forth. So for me, I felt like I wanted to write books that, while fantastical, they were also relatable with a fun content that both a child and an adult could get something out of in different ways at the same exact time. You know, there's some books where parents are like, oh my gosh, like, I can't, not again. I cannot read this again. I wanted my books to be something that they could read and to their kids, or just read to themselves and be like, oh, okay, I feel better now. Like, okay, I can get through what I'm getting through. I can do this. Like, sometimes you just need things to make you feel like you're a kid again, and to kind of get that connection back with yourself. And that's why you always see me saying, be the adult you needed as a child. And I think that part of that is in my books. There are life lessons in each one of my 4 children's books that I personally went through. There's a little bit of Taeler Hendrix in every single book, be it It's Not Easy Being a Sloth, Nosy Rosie and the Secret Surprise, A Fish with a Wish is Trish, and The Hopeful Spider, which is my latest book. My 4th. To me, whenever I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling, you know, like I've been beat down, or questioning something, I go back and read one of my books, and I remember why I wrote it. I remember what I went through in order to write those books. Like The Hopeful Spider, I literally just read yesterday. And I thought to myself, oh wow, yes, I get to constantly remind myself of these things. And so that's why I think you should buy my books, on top of the fact that they're only 99 cents. And I did that on purpose so that anybody of any different financial situation could afford 99 cents. Because I feel like with all the streaming apps and all the other stuff that parents and just adults that don't even have kids have to try to keep up with these days, I wanted something to be accessible for any wallet size. And that was really important to me, because I didn't grow up with a lot of money. And so for me, I don't want to cost people a lot of money. I want want to produce quality over quantity. And that's why I think you should buy my 4 children's books. I mean, 99 cents a piece, and you get life lessons that I learned that I kind of made fantastical with the Furred Herd. They're called, I want to turn them into a series called The Long Book of Shorts of Sorts, The Fantastical Nonsensical Adventures of the Furred Kind, starring the Furred Herd. You have a sloth named Sully, you've got a fish named Trish, you've got an elephant named Nosy Rosie, and you've got Sparks the Spider. And each one of these was, I wrote at a different point in my wrestling career, and one of them I actually started writing in the 6th grade. So there's a lot of my life's journey in these books, and I feel like if we start teaching these to kids and to adults younger, the world would be such a better place. All right, we're running really fast on time, so we're going to skip to the last one. What are some more trends that you hate? Okay, all right, let me see here. Trends that I hate. Oh my gosh, I am so tired of people being peddled, oh, buy this vegan meat, eat this vegan meat, eat this vegan meat, it's so great for you, meat's the worst problem in the world. I don't necessarily disagree, but do I think you should be eating processed meat every single day when it kills rats? No. No. Okay, there's a difference between being a real vegan and eating processed meat that's probably just as toxic as real meat right now. Not great. Another trend that I hate is people, we're going to stop this question, okay? Because we do not have enough time left in this section of the podcast for this. So we will continue more of these next week. Do not forget to join in on your chance to be featured for Q&As. Definitely go to youtube.com/@TaelerHendrix, hit the subscribe and notification button, scroll down to the latest Q&A Wednesday video, hit the thumbs up button, and comment below that video with your questions for your chance to be featured for Q&A Wednesdays on my YouTube channel. And of course, Q&As with Taeler Hendrix on the Talks with Taeler Hendrix podcast every Tuesday with Roos's